is there a root cause to someone's eating disorder? And it sounds simple that, well, if you get to the root of that, then you should be able to help that person work through that. But then you're right. You've got the complication of we have to eat, and you've got all the nuances of how much do I eat, when do I eat, what do I eat, how much do I eat, all those things. And then there's the whole social aspect of eating as well. So I could see why it would be really complicated. In your case, did you figure out what the root cause of your eating disorder, or is it like multifaceted? I mean, it could be that as well, right?
Yeah, I do think it's multifaceted. I mean, and I don't know if I am genetically predisposed, right? I mean, I may be genetically predisposed to having an eating disorder. I certainly have many of the temperament traits
Mm.
that people with restrictive eating disorders have, and that I am perfectionistic and I am detail oriented and risk averse. Most people with anorexia do share these same temperament
Hmm.
traits, but I think for me, I always used to say that my mother's death caused my eating disorder. But I remember when I was getting my master's of fine arts in creative nonfiction, one of my professors read something where I had said that, and she said, "Was that the sole reason?" And I really began to unpack that question in my writing. And looking back, certainly the suppressed grief was a huge
Mm-hmm.
part of the development of my eating disorder. But also, there were other factors at play. So I began to think about all the other influences in my life at the time. And around the time my mother died, I had been in a health class in middle school where we were weighed in front of classmates and we were taught about nutrition labels and the food pyramid. And the teacher was telling us what we should and shouldn't eat. And as a people pleaser, I really wanted to please the teacher. And I thought, well, I'm going to only eat the foods that she said we should eat, and I'm not going to eat any of the other foods. And I remember trying to control what my father ate, and I would tell him, well, the health teacher said that hamburgers are not healthy, so you shouldn't eat hamburgers. But of course, he kept eating hamburgers, and I realized I couldn't control what he ate, but I realized I could control what I
Mm-hmm.
ate. So there was that influence. And then, interestingly, as a journalist, I kept wondering what were some of the media influences. And after my mother passed away, my father bought me a subscription to 17 magazine, which was a popular teen magazine at the time. And I remember poring over all of those issues. And he thought that maybe the magazine could help answer questions related to girlhood and womanhood that he wouldn't be able to
Oh, bless
answer.
his heart. He meant well.
But
Aw.
I know, I know. And I went back and looked at the first issue that I ever read, and the cover story was titled Girls Who Exercise Themselves to Death. And I
Oh.
went on eBay and I found this particular issue. I got the copy and I read that story, and it was all about girls struggling with anorexia. And I had long since forgotten that story, but as I read it, little parts of it were coming back to me. And so I thought, well, there, I was exposed to that story. And then I looked in the back of the magazine and it was filled with all these ads for fat camps,
Oh
right?
my
And they were being
gosh.
advertised for children as young as 8 years old. So I thought, well, there was that influence too. So I think that there were a lot of different elements at play. I think my mother's death and the way I sort of dismissed my grief was really the major sort of trauma that triggered it.
Mm-hmm.
But there definitely were other influences at play.